Okay, so a definition of SFIL, it involves the implantation of IOL by securing it to the sclera using surgically created tunnels or sutures. They are broadly classified into sutured or sutureless. While there is no consensus on the target spherical equivalent while implanting SFIL, a study by Abbey et al. Have seen that they have had relative success while using in-bag implantation target of approximately 1 - 1 diopters. Now, the pros and cons of operating in a vitrectomized eye. IOL manipulation can be done safely. There are minimal chances of disturbing the vitreous base and causing iatrogenic retinal breaks. However, the tunnel construction can be difficult in a soft globe if you are implanting in a primary surgery. There might be risk of transient ocular hypertension in eyes with anterior vitrectomy, risk of choroidal or vitreous hemorrhage IOL tilt due to hypotony in the eyes with PPV. I'd like to skip the evolution of surgical techniques. Melbourne et al. Were the first to conceptualize the concept of sutured SFIL in the 1980s. And Lewis had introduced the concept of docking a straight needle into a 28 gauge needle in the 1990s. And there were internal approaches which were also experimented in the 1990s, but theoretically they increase the risk of devastating complications like RD and suprachoroidal hemorrhages. This is the Lewis technique, which has been commonly used. Now, the 4-point fixation without the scleral flap railroad technique is also similar to Lewis technique, except for the fact that the triangular scleral flaps are not made in this technique, but the sclera is pierced in 4 points by 2 separate 10-0 polypropylene sutures. In 2006, Hoffman had introduced the corneoscleral pockets that do not require conjunctival peritomy but allow for adequate coverage. These are the Hoffman pockets. Coming to sutureless techniques, Chariot, Gabor, and co-workers were the first to be credited with the description of sutureless interscleral handshake technique that utilized the 24-gauge cannulas to create diametrically opposite ab-external sclerotomies at a distance of 1.5 to 2 millimeters from the limbus. Abbey and co-workers had subsequently described a similar technique for sutureless intrascleral technique that did not require a conjunctival peritomy. With this approach, they had just used 25-gauge strockers to create 3 mm transconjunctival scleral tunnels that are 180 degrees apart from each other. Ota et al. Used scleral flap to embed the haptic in the Y fixation technique. Another adaptation of the sutureless interscleral technique was recently described by Yamane and co-workers, where they inserted a 3-piece IOL into the anterior chamber. They used a 27-gauge needle to create a scleral tunnel at a distance of 1.7 mm from the limbus. In place of sutures, fibrin glue was used to secure the haptics by Agarwal et al. In 2008. This is the commonly trending Yamane technique. I have a small video showing Yamane technique where we have used a 3-piece IOL. This was a case of a blunt trauma case where the patient had presented with iris prolapse and vitreous hemorrhage and posteriorly dislocated IOL. I had done the vitrectomy and retrieved the IOL in the first setting, and after 3 weeks, I had posted the patient for SFIL. In this, we can see that I'm using a bent 26-gauge needle, and I'm docking the leading haptic using a 25-gauge microforceps into the needle, and then I'll be externalizing it. We had initially marked 2 diametrically opposite points for entry, created a approximately 2 mm intrascleral tunnel, and then entered or dived into the eye. So now we cauterize the end of the haptic. Now I'm docking the trailing haptic into the needle. And externalizing, and similarly I'm going to cauterize the end of the haptic on the other end. So the challenges commonly faced in this technique, the haptic insertion might be challenging. The scleral tunnel and sclerotomy are too close. Docking the trailing haptic is always very challenging because there's a risk of haptic slippage, kinking, and breakage while docking the trailing haptic, and poorly centered IOL. Pearls for this technique, we might not externalize the leading haptic completely because that makes it very difficult to dock the trailing haptic. Second, sclerotomy should be diametrically opposite to the first sclerotomy. Anterior vitreous should be completely removed. AC maintainer or infusion port should always be present to prevent hypotony. We may do a PI to prevent a pupillary block. An adequate cauterization of the haptic should be done to prevent slippage of the haptics. So, based on this technique, Bhaskar et al. Had described the XNet technique where the docking needle had a silicon stopper. Khatri et al. Had used a 27 gauge needle intrasclerally guided by a hollow visco cannula. Takayama et al. Had described the lock and lead catheter guided 30 gauge docking needle. A latest technique by Kanaprava is the 4-flange technique where he has used 50 proline sutures to thread the eyelets of the IOL and flange the 2 points, and then he, in a similar fashion, he has taken out he had taken out the suture from the site of the sclerotomy and flanged them in the 3rd and 4th point. I have a small video showing this technique as well. Here I have threaded the eyelets of the haptic with the 50 proline suture and flanged the ends of the suture. This was a case of a Marfan syndrome patient. In the primary surgery, I had done vitrectomy and removed the nucleus. And similarly, after 3 weeks, I had posted for SFIL. The pupil was very small, so I had to use iris hooks. Here I'm externalizing the suture attached to the leading haptic. The main problem which I faced in this technique was I had made the knob on the eyelet suture quite big, so it was getting entangled in the iris. Shortcomings of SFIL and sutured SFIL, there is a risk of late onset endophthalmitis due to erosion of conjunctival tissue, not exposure, suture breakage, and late dislocation of IOL. Initially, 10-0 polypropylene sutures were being used for the sutured techniques, which are more prone to erosion, and they have now been replaced by 9-0 proline sutures and 7-0 Gore-Tex. There are
Requesting
also,
doctor to wind up because we don't have any time.
okay, I'll just skip all this.
5:27. We have to wind up first.
Yeah, okay. Should I, okay, I'll just skip this. Differences between suture and sutureless SFIL, Ganical et al. Have seen that postoperatively the visual acuity is similar. In sutured IOL, the risk of post-op complication of glaucoma inflammation is more compared to the fibrin glue group. And another study in which Hoffman pockets were compared to Sharot's SIS technique, in which dislocation with sutureless techniques is more. SFIL in anterior vitrectomy versus pars plana vitrectomy in a recent prospective study, complications were evaluated. Visual acuity improvement was similar in both the groups. Lens dislocation was seen more in the AV group. Myopic shift and IOL capture was seen more in the pars plana group. And intraocular pressure elevations were seen more in the AV group. primary versus secondary implantation, there is no outcome in the visual
Sorry
visual
to
acuity.
interrupt you, ma'am. I would request you to please sum up in next 30 seconds as we are running short of time.
Yeah. I'm done. And SFIL in silicone oil filled globe should be done after silicone oil removal. Astigmatism is also very much significant. So the take-home message is the procedure of choice in eyes lacking in both iris and capsular support is SFIL. However, sutureless techniques are gaining more popularity because there is more maintenance of ocular anatomy and tissue integrity. And availability of specialized instruments is very much necessary in implantation of SFIL. However, there is a shift towards retropupillary IFIL because they have an easier learning curve and less time consuming. Thank you. I'd like to thank Dr. Shakeen sir for giving me the opportunity to speak on this session. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, Dr. Srijita. Thank you so much.